We have an informational meeting scheduled for February 4th at 7 p.m. at Centennial Farms. There'll be coffee. Everyone is welcome. We want people from off island. It's in line with what Wally was saying earlier. We want people to know about Grosse Ile. It's a great, environment. Everybody should participate. It's probably more for 18-year-olds and above, but bring anybody you want. We've got a Facebook page going. I'm starting that up. We've got it on Grosse Ile's Facebook. We've had a lot of likes already. People are interested, and it's for everybody. All skill levels. We're partnering with RKC, Riverside Kayaking Connection. We've done a little promo to talk about. Come on down. Everybody's welcome. They're going to do a PowerPoint presentation. I'll be the moderator. Tim Rooney will be presenting. Just to tell you what we're doing, it'll be Tuesday nights. We're hoping, if there's interest, it'll be Tuesday nights out of Water's Edge, 6 o'clock to about 7:30. Come on down. There's parking. There's bathrooms, and there'll be RKC people at no fee. We'll take you out and we'll paddle around the island. If you want a rental, they can arrange that, and that's their thing. But bring your kayak, bring your enthusiasm, and we're here for you. So I hope everyone comes down. Again, it's Monday, February 4th at 7 p.m. at Centennial Farms. We'll have coffee, maybe cookies, who knows, maybe even some chocolates.
Ken is one of those people that started out with one of the big box store kayaks and realized that it wasn't all that great. So she went out and bought herself a Go Faster kayak.
I got pretty.
Yeah, exactly. And she's pretty passionate about the activity. And this would be another great way of blending Grosse Ile into surrounding communities and an activity where kayaking can be a solo activity, and what many people would like that. It's also a group activity, and it could draw a lot of people to the downriver area based on combining different communities and putting activities together to draw people in. And again, it's a good way of showing just how beautiful Grosse Ile is from the water.
It's wonderful. We've been doing it a lot at Grosse Ile Yacht Club. They have it on Thursday nights for members. But this is for the community, this is for public, and there are so many canals here, there's so many waterways, and the people from Riverside Kayaking, Tiffany Vandehay, she will take you around. They will never leave you. If something goes wrong, if you don't feel comfortable, they will paddle back with you, and which is really nice. I've seen it happen. They make sure you're okay, and then they go back out, but there are always at least 2 people in the group so that you're safe. And again, it's at no fee. And I think that's just kind of really, it speaks well for us. And her husband happens to be a doctor, which is nice. He comes with us a lot. So if you have a doctor there, she's an attorney, that's nice too. But the paddling is great, and it's for all skill levels. I didn't like my little kayak because it went too slow, and I don't like being the last one, so now I'm going to be ready to go to pack. So come on down, please. Bring your questions. We're really going to have a nice event. We're hoping for at least 50 people. I know Otis Cunningham, we did this about 20 years ago. He told me he had a heck of a turnout, but why not? We've got it. We're talking about it. Let's do it. It's non-impact. It's great. And for women, you don't have to have a partner. You can come and meet friends. It's like, as Tom said, you can be do it by yourself or do it in a group, but it's very welcoming. At our club, it was just wonderful. Everybody helps each other. Even my husband, who does not do a lot, always is there. He does not participate, but he would help pick up the kayaks. So everybody helps each other. It's really very communal. It's very nice. It's a nice group. And then, of course, if you want to have some, perhaps an adult beverage later or a sandwich, I think Sharky's would be happy to take care of you. So, if you have any questions, come on out.
Thanks, Debbie.
Hope to see you, Tom.
You will, and thank you, Tim, as well. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Mr. Posias.
Well, with all of this activity
of physical fitness and promoting active communities, I want to talk about a chili and brownie contest for a moment. We have to sustain ourselves. On the 26th, there is a Knights of Columbus chili and brownie contest that will be held over at the VFW Hall, and starts at 6 o'clock. This is the 8th one we've done. We've had 7 great successes. A lot of people go and have fun. They cook their own chili, they cook their own brownies. They're being there, and the audience does the judging. Great community event. Very nutritious, only the best hot dogs, and the finest chili. And we even had some venison chili, some vegetarian chili, and we've had some chicken chili, and we've had some spirited competition. I think last year we had 19 entrants for the chili. So come on down. It's a $10 bill. It goes to charity, and we'd love to see you all there, getting physically fit with us. That's the end of my report. It's in the air camera. It's in the Roselle. I think Lena has come across with the air camera and done, again, a nice promotion job for us. It should be on Roselle TV right now. And there's a lot of people with a lot of bragging rights. So if you think you've got good chili, bring it on.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Posias. Ms. Smith?
Okay, I want to thank the Roselle Police and Fire for rescuing the deer. That was a great story. Love to see that on the news. It's positive. I've got a couple things going on. Wednesday is a Communications Commission meeting, and we're changing for the Festival Commission meeting. That's going to be changed, so we're TBD right now. But on Wednesday, I'm actually heading up to East Lansing, to Michigan State University, to participate in their Institute for Public Policy. So basically, this is like an annual forum series, and it's free, so if anybody wants to join me at the future sessions, basically it's a network of business leaders, policy advocates, and university faculty together to learn about policy-relevant research, exchange practical information, and cultivate possible solutions for new partnerships. So I'm kind of taking that on as some professional development. And then, let's see, next week we've got the Michigan Township Association's annual conference. So I'm looking forward to that. Going to probably learn a lot. Other than that, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Smith. Moving on to the supervisor's report, with a full month going by since meetings, I've got just a bunch of material to cover. Some of the things I've been working on, I've attended a couple meetings with local communities concerning a grade separation. That would be a road and a rail line separation on Allen Road, the ones we've all grown old at, read books, done crossword puzzles, wondering if the train, when it would go forward, stop, back up, etc., when that was going to ever let us get home. There was an earmark. Right now it's in County Commissioner Ray Basham's district. There's a $9 million earmark that they would like to use, augmented with some untold number of millions, 10 to 20 more, to get it done. Funding, of course, is a concern, and I'm just going to throw out, somewhere I'll try to get a feel of this community's pulse on, would you be willing to join a regional tax authority? It consists of 5 communities. We'd be one of the 5. I don't know how the cost would be apportioned. Again, this is all very preliminary, but they were looking at a possible regional taxing authority, much like a DDA or something along those lines. 5 communities, Woodhaven, Brownstown, Gibraltar, Grosse Ile, and Trenton would be involved in this, and it would be to relieve the congestion on Allen Road where you get stopped forever. Different communities obviously have different levels of concern with that. We have alternate ways, so I will certainly not raise my hand and say Grosse Ile is interested until I get a preponderance of evidence or support and a resolution from this board. So that's one of the things that's out there. Trenton has a little bit different ideas. CN Railroad has different ideas. It would be a 2-year project. Just have to look at it as life would be better when that's done, if it ever gets done. Additionally, from the city of Trenton, I still have no news to report on the McCough plant. No matter how much I threaten or beg Jim Wagner, he will not tell me who's bidding interesting in the property. They're still optimistic that there will be a very positive result going on in what has been a long process. And as soon as he tells me and tells me I can tell you, I will let you know what's happening. Commissions, committees. Those of you out there, we need your vote to select your chairs so that they can all be reappointed at the township meeting. So at your next meetings, next opportunities, let's get the vote on your chairs. And get those recorded votes to the clerk's office to be recorded and moved on to the annual meeting. Another communication item we're looking at, and this just came up again, as we're looking at additional ways to get information to you, the residents, and it came up again because I was reminded of it on the Nixle program. It's very similar to a Twitter. It's a one-way information, and it allows public safety or administrators to get messages out to the subscribers. It works very well in the city of Dearborn. I was reminded of it because a guy who works in Dearborn said, he gets notified when a road is closed, when there's going to be a funeral, something that's going to impact him getting to or from work. And we can do the same things here. I just think it'd be wonderful, someone coming back from across town, if we could notify them that the county bridge was closed for a couple hours, or there was a broken train across Allen Road. We could get that information to your smartphone, and you could make alternate plans according. I think it'd be a wonderful service to get out. Additionally, Amber Alerts, fires, power outages, just a great avenue of information. So Mr. Fournier had established that account a couple of years ago. We kind of let it go fallow, but we'll be working on that and get a good product. It will require you to sign up for it, but the big advantage, I think, first of all, it's instantaneous. It costs nothing, and hopefully we can get away from first call as much as possible. It's an option we still use. It's expensive. I think first call is expensive, and as more people move away from landline phones and are all solely relying on cell phones, preponderance now are smartphones, there's the capability to contact you with the information we think you need, or your public safety would need. So it's just a great opportunity, something we'll be working on in the foreseeable future. Speaking of which, 4th Street will be closed northbound in Riverview, and I've got a bunch of notices in the back. Try to get you updated on all of them. But yeah, the MDOT press release, and it's going to be January 7th. It'll be for this coming weekend, the 19th through the 22nd. Supposed to end by the Tuesday, the 22nd. All northbound traffic, and it sounds like between King and Eureka will be closed. So plan accordingly. If you can find another way to go other than 4th Street, please take that into account. That's from MDOT. And there's a flyer on the little console there in the back of the room. Other odds and ends that Carol thought you might find interesting, some income tax changes. This is from the IRS. These are all in the back of the room if you want to pick one up on the way out. DCC's Energy Assistance Program, 2013 Energy Assistance Program. There is a proof of household income. The thresholds are on the back. I'm tired of reading threshold number. So if you think you qualify, pick up one of these. If you don't have one, we'll try to get one on the website, or you can pick one up at the township offices, at the administration desk. And Grosse Ile Township offices will be closed on Monday, January 21st, 2013, in honor of the Martin Luther King Jr. Day holiday. Of course, reopening again Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock. That's it for the immediate events. We'll be meeting again in 2 weeks. I have no further. That concludes my supervisor's report. So we will move on to Township Manager's report. Mr. William.
With your permission, I'll skip that report and go right to the discussion item.
I cover everything for you?
The township currently has on our records the Boca Property Maintenance Code. We need to do some housekeeping. Boca joined the ICC, which is the International Code.
Hi, I'm Kathy Walker, and I'm here looking at kayaking. And kayaking's a big sport right now. It's been growing in popularity for a number of years, and it's been talked about on Grosse Ile for a long time. And we thought we'd come up with a really good proposal for the residents of Grosse Ile, and for anybody who's interested in kayaking. We're having an informational meeting on February 4th at 7 p.m. at Centennial Farms. Centennial Farms is located on Grosse Ile, south of Bellevue, and on 3rd. Just drive on in, and there's plenty of parking, and it's 7 p.m. So what is this event about? It's February 4th at 7 p.m. at Centennial Farms, and it's an informational meeting regarding kayaking on Grosse Ile, or from Grosse Ile's water's edge. There'll be representatives from the township. I'll be moderating a discussion, and we'll have Riverside Kayaking involved too, because they are partnering with us to have this paddling experience. And let me tell you what we're planning, just a little brief thing, and we'll explain it more at the meeting. But Tuesday nights from Memorial Day to Labor Day, we're planning on paddling out of Water's Edge. Water's Edge is a beautiful location on Grosse Ile, and they have all the facilities needed to have a successful paddle. There's plenty of free parking, there's bathrooms, which are always important, a restaurant, and plenty of waterfront that we can launch our kayaks from. And it's going to be a wonderful experience for young and old, male, female, whoever you want to come. Come alone, come with your friends, bring your husband, bring your girlfriend, whatever. It's something for everyone to enjoy. So whether you have a kayak or not, come on down to our informational meeting and we'll explain to you what our proposal is, and we want everyone to attend. Off island, on island, young, old, we want you there. I'd like to introduce you to Tiffany Vandehay of Riverside Kayaking, who is partnering with the Grosse Ile Recreational Department, and she will give you all the information you need to have a successful paddle on Grosse Ile.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Vandehay, the owner of Riverside Kayak Connection. We're going to be talking today about the program we're going to be running on Grosse Ile on Tuesday evenings. We'll be paddling this summer, starting from Memorial Day, after Memorial Day through Labor Day. We're going to be providing rentals for these paddles. It will be a group paddle for all skill levels, so anyone who has their own kayak or if you do need a rental, we can provide that for you. The boats that we'll have are very user-friendly. It's great for anybody who's never been in a boat before. We also provide the life jacket and the paddle, as well as a guide who can take you on the river, show you how to get in the boat, really brief introduction on how to paddle. So it can be from anybody from a beginner to an advanced paddler. We have a lot of paddlers who come out every week to different events, and they like to just get on the water, the camaraderie of a group, and paddling from Grosse Ile is going to be amazing. We're going to be on the lower portion of the Detroit River Heritage Water Trail, great place to paddle. You can do Thoroughfare Canal, the other canals on the south end of Grosse Ile. We can paddle over to Gibraltar, Humbug Marsh. There's just an unlimited amount of paddling in that area. And there's so much wildlife you can see, and it's going to be spectacular. So we hope to see everybody on Tuesdays this summer, and we look forward to it. And once again, if you need a rental boat, we can help you out with that and help you get fitted for the correct kayak for you. Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing everybody on Monday, February 4th at 7 p.m. at Centennial Farms. If you have an interest at all in kayaking, come on down. We want to see you and we want to hear your input and see what you think of the idea. We hope that this is something that will appeal to everyone on the island and everyone off the island.
Is required to bring curbs and gutters up to the standards of the surrounding area. I didn't bring up that issue because I didn't feel that was necessarily pertinent to our interests, but the township ordinance does state that, and there's nothing in the plans for creating that curb and gutter.
Excuse me, but we are on air now. They just brought us on air.
Very well. Were there any other questions before Ms. Redinger?
Just maybe not pertinent, but I don't know. When you come up to that gate, it says private road.
Yes, sir.
I'm always put off by that. Don't even want to go in there. Is there some legal implication?
I can't necessarily answer that. What I can tell you is that the way that the Orville Gray subdivision was deeded was that it was that each property owns the adjacent 50% of the adjacent private road is the way it's deeded. So we're all responsible for our own road maintenance. And there was a community road project in 2002 or 3 following our installation of the drain and the gutters and everything, where the neighbors got together and had a resurfacing of the asphalt in the area done. So technically, yes, it is a private area, but it does have a public easement coming down there. And as
I'm thinking about the traffic issue, so there's really no prohibition to anybody, even from the outside, coming in there and going around here?
No, there's not.
Okay. Even though it says private road?
It is, well, both are true. It is a private road, but there is a public easement, yes.
Not to keep people out, though.
Correct.
Yeah, that public easement is for what purpose, the easement?
It's not specific, it's just a public easement for ingress and egress. So it would basically be to reach those properties theoretically, but just a public ingress and egress easement, and it's not specific what that's for.
Okay, any other questions?
You don't have an association on Alba Island, do you?
No, there's not.
But it is a private road? A private road, or is it a county road?
No, it's a private road. But it's also, it's not a county-maintained road, however, the county still has jurisdiction.
Yeah, right.
But also in zoning ordinance and in the county's road ordinances, if you do an improvement on a road other than general maintenance, if you widen the road or you commit to any improvements such as that, then the whole road has to come into compliance with the county's road zoning.
So the existing road that, as we see it today, was that approved by the county?
Yeah, in 1951 or whenever they made the subdivision, apparently, yes. It is a platted subdivision, and so to that extent, that had to be approved by the county to plat that subdivision, right. Yes. But at the time, the zoning ordinances, road ordinances probably didn't exist such as they do today. It's a 50-foot right-of-way. The road itself is a 50-foot right-of-way. When you get down to the cul-de-sac, it's an 80-foot right-of-way.
Okay, when you say 80-foot right-of-way, that includes the center vegetation area?
Yes.
So it's 80 foot including that?
Correct.
So what you did with it is you made a circle and then put the...
No, the circle was there since 1980. The township got together with the property owners in 1980 when they installed the sewer system. They put a lift station there in the middle. Prior to that, the road widened out there, but wasn't a cul-de-sac. And the owners before us were the Alexanders. The Alexanders would park on their side of the road. The Francos, who lived where the Schneiders lived, would go through, and the Palmers, and then the Gerbacks, well, I think it was just the Palmers, parked in the... If you look at 28383 Elba, if you look at the historic pictures that we gave you, that house was designed with a semicircle driveway. At some point when they did a remodel in the 1960s, or I don't know exactly when it happened, but if you look on, I don't have the page, but I can put it here. You can see we have an aerial picture of that property, and there's a semicircle driveway in front of that house that begins and ends before the cul-de-sac. So when that cul-de-sac was designed, it was never designed to serve that property. It was never designed to serve that house at all. And based on that, we did improvements on our property after we bought it in 1999. We changed our driveway, we built the garage to the north, but all of that, and the township approved all of that based on the fact that we were the only ones to utilize that side of the road other than people passing through. If if there had been any other potential plan to utilize that property differently, we would have certainly made different plans for our very large renovation and addition that we did to our house, because we would never intentionally build the front features of our house to have headlights shining into them. As the township ordinance, I think the citation is noted in the package that we gave you relative to the avoiding headlights shining into properties. That's one of the issues in the township zoning ordinance. And if it's important for me to get you the section, it is in our package that we submitted.
Is this your map?
That's on page 2.
Thank you.
You're on page 2, where that's section 238-7.
Thank you very much. You're happy.
Do you have this picture with you?
I don't have it with me now. That was done by Mr. Pouliot, who suffered a little impeachment in the letter responding to his letter. However, Mr. Pouliot, who does accident investigations for the township and for the township police department, is very qualified, and his opinion was that there are safety issues with this. I think Chief Porcerelli could agree that Mr. Pouliot does have qualifications. Does have qualification to judge.
Can you put that on the?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it gives it a clear picture of what's going on.
Sure. Thank you for asking.
Oh, let's see.
In this picture, this is the black and white picture. It doesn't show the addresses, but yes, it shows the original semicircle driveway.
Could you turn that around so that,
That's better, all the way around?
go back?
Okay, this,
Well, let's see. Well, that's the same one as he's got there.
Lori actually has
That-
the color
that's-
version of it. So
That's a good picture right there.
okay, but we'll put it in the proper perspective.
Okay.
Does that do it for you? Very well, yes. So you can see that the Mazzola's original driveway, the semicircle driveway,
Move it just a little bit there.
Sure.
Just,
this way,
that's good.
the Mazzola's home is right here, 283.
Yeah, see, now that,
83 Elba.
yeah, right.
This is their original semicircle driveway as it was
Right.
engineered and approved
And then
by the
they,
township.
and then where would they go from there?
Go all the way to the south end of the cul-de-sac there. See the end of all the trees here? The line right here is the proposed driveway.
And
This is
other
our house, and this is where it shines in all our windows right
Oh,
here.
and this other driveway exists now, right next to it?
Yeah, that's going south to the Schneider's house.
And then
That-
you're over here.
Yeah, we're here. This is our driveway.
And then the driveway you're talking about is to the north, on the east and northeast side, where you see you got the U there, the U shape there? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you were talking about, how,
That was how it was originally designed.
That's how it was originally designed.
Yeah, and that was what was there when we made our improvements to our home. You can see our driveway over here didn't create any conflict with their house, their property, or anything, because our driveway was down here at our end of the cul-de-sac. And their driveway here doesn't have any conflict with the cul-de-sac or our house. You can see they're driving on the private road, would go in here and out here. Since then, they've trenched across the driveway here and put in a line of arborvitaes across the front of their house. By the way, in the road right away, but there's an entire line of arborvitaes going across the front of the property since then. And
yeah, when I went and visited there, I noticed that that area is blocked off with arborvitae. Yeah.
that was all done this fall.
So how are they getting in and out of their property now?
They're driving through the mud down here and tracking it out on the road. We raised the question when that began, and we raised the question for a number of reasons. One was to avoid ending up here at this time in January of 2013. We tried to have a meeting of the minds back in August and September, and when we brought this up, the building official said he couldn't make any ruling because, as far as he knew, it was just landscaping going on, and until they applied for a permit, he couldn't really rule on that. Well, in the meantime, this is what has developed. So,
What is growing in the middle of the cul-de-sac?
That's just some decorative bushes.
How high?
2 feet high on an average. There's one tree, there's one horse chestnut tree that comes up in the middle. It doesn't really block any views, but
So
the bushes average about 2 feet
Your
high.
primary concern is that he will come around your side of the cul-de-sac?
Well, as in Mr. Pouliot's report, by law, you have to traverse a circular road. According to state law, you have to traverse a circular road to the right.
You haven't had that traffic before, and that's what you're concerned with?
Every time that we back out of our driveway, as you see with the car here and the arrow, we back, because there's a turn here, and it's not completely accurately represented, there's about a 50-degree turn there just before our driveway. We have to back out, and so it's a blind corner there. There's an electrical control box for the sewer pump station right there alongside our driveway, and an Edison light pole there, as well as our mailbox and some bushes. But even if we got rid of our mailbox and bushes, there's still the pole and the sewer pump station that were all part of the project in 1980. And the fact that the road takes this turn, as you can see better in the photographs than you can see in this diagram. So there's no way to really, we could do some small mitigation of the fact that that's a blind corner coming around there, but we can't change that. That's the way it was engineered back in 1980. And so there is a multiplied possibility that somebody could run into us as we back out of our driveway, or that we wouldn't run into them. We know to look for people, but they don't necessarily know to look for us, and increasing traffic on this road just increases that possibility, and that's been the finding of Mr. Pouliot and Ms. Redinger. That is the only way to mitigate that danger is to not have additional traffic put in there on purpose. So,
Well, I have a similar situation in my particular area. It isn't a cul-de-sac, but it's a turning and having to look around trees and everything, and you just learn to be safe.
but you can't control what the other car is going to do is the problem.
Learn to be safe.
Okay, do you have the other person that's going to make a presentation
Yes.
as part of your presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Cynthia Redinger, and can you hear me now? Okay. I am a traffic engineer licensed by the state of Michigan. I'm also a professional traffic operations engineer. My clients contracted with me last week to conduct a site evaluation of their driveway. And when I say site, I mean SIGHT, as in visibility lines. We were able to go out and conduct a site distance investigation yesterday on location, and we conducted this site review in accordance with the AASHTO guidelines for site distance requirements. And AASHTO is the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. They produce the what's commonly known as the Green Book, which is a policy on geometric design of highways and streets. The 6th edition is what we use, which is the current edition. All of that is referenced in the letter that you have received a copy of. When we went out, we found that my client's driveway currently has limited sight distance, which means they do not have proper, clear vision down the street to be able to make a determination as to whether or not they can safely enter the roadway according to the statutory speed limit for this roadway. Also, at the same time, someone approaching their drive does not have adequate sight distance to stop, to make the decision to stop for someone who would be backing out of that location according to the ASHTO standards. We also took a moment to, well, a few moments, to check the proposed driveway, and we also found that that driveway does not have sight distance for the statutory speed limit at this location.
Could you say that over again?
The proposed location, according to the writing, does not, for the new driveway, the neighbor's driveway that's being contested this evening, also does not have adequate sight distance for the statutory speed limit.
You have, the proposal is 3 driveways. You have...
Oh, no.
You have the driveway going to the south, one going to the east, and then one to the west. There's 3 on that cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
So
the driveways that the first driveway that I mentioned is my client's driveway, which is this driveway, right here. That driveway has a definite, very, very short amount of sight distance. I have discussed a few alternatives with my client some mitigations that could be done to make that a little bit better, but at this point in time it's not possible to evaluate what the utility tower will actually have an impact on it because there are other things in the road. If all of that vegetation were cleared, the size and orientation of that utility tower, which was probably placed prior to the road actually being a cul-de-sac, could still be impeding a clear sight line for that driveway. The second 2 lines that you see on the table that's on the second page of my letter are in regards to the proposed driveway location, which is right here. What we were able to do is, while we were out in the field, because there was snow on the road, we had a very accurate representation of where the actual edge of traveled way is on the cul-de-sac. So you can see the tire tracks and say, okay, if a driver were to stop at the, at an adequate distance back from the actual traveled way, this is what the sight distance would be. And at the traveled way, the sight distance is much better than it would be if they were to actually stop where their driveway meets the pavement of the cul-de-sac. The situation being what it is, additional traffic would increase my client's risk exposure for a crash based on that severely limited sight distance.
Could you take the page off the...
Sorry. I only put that up there because I think it had some data that might be relevant to this.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that traffic coming from the north, if you're no, I'm looking for sight vision. If you're coming from the north, and let's say that you get a normal traffic car coming in there, and that car or that vehicle would not have enough clear sight to avoid a car backing out from the person appealing, the appellant there.
At the statutory speed limit, yes.
Under the statutory, which is what?
25 miles per hour.
25. So that car coming from the north really would not have the vision necessary to avoid some kind of altercation?
It would not meet the required sight distance for a driveway. That is correct.
And then can you go on about the second driveway? You said it didn't meet the sight distance for the proposed driveway.
That's correct. And part of an evaluation right here with it being a cul-de-sac, it's you're really looking at the nature of the situation. You're really looking at, will the motorist be able to make an informed decision about whether or not it is time to exit the driveway? And part of that decision process at this location is the fact that the roadway is very narrow. I was not able to get a really good accurate width on that roadway just because of the conditions yesterday. but it's not wide enough for two vehicles to pass. So if you're going to be exiting, if the property owner is going to be exiting the proposed driveway, then that motorist needs to be able to make an informed decision about whether or not it's safe for them to proceed. And right now, it doesn't, that driveway would not meet the required site distance for the statutory speed limit.
I'm trying to wrap my arms around what that actually means. Does it mean that if that requirement is not met, that then what happens? What's the bottom line then if you don't meet that requirement?
The potential is there for a crash. Because site distance takes into account vehicle operation and driver perception reaction time. And these standards have been developed based on a median car and a median driver and what is a good factor of safety, reasonable for design.
See, now you're not going to be able to answer this, but when we build the roadway, do we, and I haven't looked into the regulations for, that we have, that Grove Seal has for constructing the roadways or clear site. I don't know what it is. Well, we're going to have to get into that to find out if there was something in the regulation that said, yeah, you have to have that clear site. I don't know if that's the case or not.
I do not know if the township addresses it specifically, but generally, yes, that is the case. And
so I'd like to know if it was expressed, specifically that issue. But you don't know that.
No, I did not do a thorough evaluation of your code.
Okay.
I have one question. Which of these driveways are you telling us has the worst line of sight problem?
The absolute worst site right now is the driveway owned by the Freezes. I cannot tell you whether or not that site distance issue could be adequately addressed without requiring moving that utility tower. Just because of the size, the shape, and the orientation of it. So because it is a condition that may not be able to be mitigated in an easy and reasonable manner, it's not just cut down the bush and you're fine. It's a factor of geometry. It's a factor, the road was not originally designed to accommodate that cul-de-sac, and I don't know if any of this got evaluated when the cul-de-sac was put in or not. But so because this condition does exist, any additional traffic that gets placed on the roadway is going to increase their risk exposure.
Okay. I appreciate your explanation, but I just want to make sure it is the Freeze's driveway that has the biggest line of sight problem, correct?
It is the worst, but neither of the driveways meet.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. The fact that they don't meet whatever the standards are you're talking about, is there any county or state requirement that would make them meet those requirements?
If it were on a state roadway, they would require the driveway to meet site distance.
Yeah, in a situation like this, where this is an area that was built long ago, would they, because they changed their standard, make the homeowners come in and redo their road?
For a new driveway, yes. You would not necessarily have to redesign the entire roadway, but you would have to assure adequate site distance. So yes, that is the typical requirement. And sometimes that can be achieved very easily, and sometimes it means that the driveway has to be moved.
And that would be for a state road, not a private road?
For a state road, for county roads, But something you need to keep in mind when you say that this is a private road is it still isn't open to the public.
Right, but it is owned by the homeowners.
It is owned by the homeowners,
Right.
but it is still open to the public.
Right.
Okay, do those standards then apply to that? Can someone force them to change things? Or are we just saying theoretically they should apply those standards?
It is best practice to apply the standards. I cannot comment on the state of case law in regards to this matter.
Thank you.
Cynthia?
In the case of a cul-de-sac that has 3 driveways on there, is there any prohibition of the appellant here to back up to the south instead of backing up to the north and leaving his property?
It's addressed in Mr. Pouliot's report. Because state law requires that you enter a cul-de-sac to the right.
Actually, he would be backing to the north.
Specifically addressed in his report.
And doesn't that make the most sense, that he would go to the right so he could go into his driveway straight rather than going to the left and making a turn into it?
He was asking about which way he could come out of our driveway.
Yeah.
Coming out of his driveway.
Oh,
He got back out to the south.
yeah.
Can you go
to the
south
in that, yeah.
go north?
I was just going to ask you, in relationship to the proposed driveway, what is your assumption of the traffic flow there in and out of that driveway?
I have made no assumptions on the traffic flow. My analysis is the site distance. That is what we were contracted to go out and
It doesn't make any difference which way the cars go into or out of that driveway. The site distance, still the same problem.
Right. However, it is my understanding that my clients are currently following state law regarding how you drive on a cul-de-sac, and that you have to stay to the right and have a counterclockwise rotation.
So if they stayed to the right, they'd go in forward and not shine the lights into us.
No, I'm sorry, I'm completely...
They'd still have to come up there. That's what I think. We'll
Well,
get into
the
that.
driveway that is near, or the new one is, extension is proposed, has not only a 6-foot property line setback, but it also has a clear view from the driveway that's close to him. If you're looking
You're
at,
referring to
yes,
this driveway?
that has a clear view of him coming around.
Yes, that driveway has clear sight distance.
Yeah, right.
This
And-
driveway is
Right.
significantly blocked by...
Yeah, well, his driveway would be right back of his trees, but he's still, when he comes out, is in clear view of
You
that
mean right
other
here?
driveway. Yeah, right.
It doesn't have a
Yeah,
6-foot
that one-
setback at all. It doesn't have a 1-foot.
Well,
setback.
and so this, then your applicant, or your client, is over here backing out. You would think that there would be no...
May I draw on this?
Yeah.
So when we measure sight distance, this is our car.
That, as I understand, is the extension of
This
the
is the new
driveway.
driveway. Sight distance is measured along center line to this direction. So
So
typically,
he's coming around in normal fashion, but your client is not looking at that driveway.
my client's concern is that this distance,
And why isn't he backing out to the bottom of the, yeah, why isn't he backing out that way?
Because that's against state law.
That puts him in right traffic.
you have to back this way. You have to go this way
Yeah,
and then go this way. That's the way you have to drive around the cul-de-sac. So my client's concern is that
well,
due to the short distance here, additional traffic is going to increase his risk of exposure. Just as an aside, I checked this because it all looked really short out there. And the decision sight distance for this motorist going this way is short. It does not meet current requirements, and that's just something that they might want to consider.
Could you, one thing that hasn't been stated here, and if you could just point on the picture so everybody understands, where is where the driveway is being built? Where's the garage?
I believe it is here.
So the circular drive does not give them entrance into the garage from the circular drive itself. They have to drive down correctly. Is that correct?
Well,
from the circular drive to get into the garage?
This is outside of my analysis, but I do have an aerial.
Well, that picture is inaccurate from the drawing that was submitted. The garage is at the end, as you said, but this present driveway comes right around. Take that picture off there for a minute. No, take your picture off for a minute.
Could you move your picture off?
The driveway, the cement is shown incorrectly on this. The cement comes right back up to the garage.
Yeah.
It comes right around. So the drawing, wherever we got this, is not accurate.
It's just the access
Yeah.
of it.
That's the
Oh,
There's additional pavement.
That is not accurate.
Yeah.
Let me say something on 28383, excuse me, on 28383, I knew Gerbacks who lived there before that, and I remember the U-shaped drive, and then from the south entrance, they would go down to their garage from that south, so there was a roadway down to the garage, so that was, and if you wanted to stop at the front porch, you just went around the U there, you went around the U, so I know how that worked.
That picture is inaccurate, that's on the screen. And if you look at where the driveway really is, or the cement is, that goes up to where the garages are, and then he would be able to come out to that proposed driveway from that point.
Yeah, but I'm just saying what was, and what was the.
So here's where it is.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm just saying what was. I'm going back to what was. Now they wanted to come all the way around the cul-de-sac. They want to drive all the way around the cul-de-sac up, then go through the driveway and all the way down to into their garage or around the front of the house. So they've got quite a bit more driveway to do the ingress and egress. That's what I see. That's pretty much what. That's a change. That's the change. More driveway. You got a lot more driveway. Yeah. That's what we're, and then we're saying, well, okay, with all that driveway, what's going on? I mean, what's happening? And now we're getting into the safety issues of the new driveway being pushed where it is. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about headlights shining in the house. I mean, those are the things that we're talking about.
I'm just talking about the site distance.
Yeah, the safety issue, and I understand the safety issues. As you presented it, as you're coming from the north, there's no clear sight. There's a possibility of an altercation coming from the north, given that you don't have that clear sight. So that's what you're basically saying.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, but that exists today, without that proposed driveway.
Just the quantity of traffic would be
Right.
When you say the quantity, what is the quantity increase that you expect?
Average day, we probably have 5 cars go around that cul-de-sac.
Now you have 5 cars?
Average day, probably.
And what are you expecting if this driveway's in?
12.
And what's it?
Can we have order here? We want one person talking up front. you'll have an opportunity if you want to talk a little later after we get through.
Mr. Freeze, what is that based on?
That's based on historic traffic that we have, historic traffic that Mazzolas have. They have a large extended family. They have a lot of visitors in and out. So if there are 5 people of the public using that right-of-way in a day, the Mazzolas traffic coming in and out of that driveway would more than double that if they have 5 people coming in and out of their driveway on an average day. So that would more than double the traffic coming by. Would more than double the utilization.
Hey, Sean, can you come up? If you're going, I'd like you to come up and.
It would not only more than double the traffic coming past our house on the cul-de-sac, which was never in the bargain, but it would more than double the utilization of the asset that we paid for in the improvement of the road. And additionally, I think that the headlight issue is a major issue, and it's sort of getting lost in the translation of all this other information. There's no way to mitigate that. Those lights are shining in our living room from now until forever, and that is not what we bought when we bought that house. And that was not what we bought when we had it designed and approved by the township. And the township's ordinance very specifically says that if there's to be a change in an approach or a driveway, there's supposed to be a traffic engineering study. I'm providing that. I'm providing 2 of them, actually. And I apologize, Mrs. Jaworski. I will agree that this is not a perfect representation on this site plan. This was provided by Mr. Pouliot. Mr. Pouliot did this with a state-of-the-art Leica system, so he plotted various points, but he didn't give a perfect representation of their driveway coming down into the area of their garage here. Right. Mr. Bintinger has firsthand knowledge of how that worked, and he even said, and I don't want to put words into his mouth, did that work for getting with those driveways to get them into their garage there when it was the Gerbach's house?
Well, I used it a number of times, and I had no problems with it, but that was my experience.
So I think that the issues that we've come to you with are headlights in the house, which can't be mitigated, increased traffic around the cul-de-sac. If you do look, and this is a fair representation of how the driveway is, other than it's been trenched out and had some trees put across there, but it's still very much intact. This driveway doesn't cause any cars to come around our cul-de-sac at all. So for you guys to approve this plan means that you are taking it upon yourselves to double the traffic around our cul-de-sac, create the opportunity for us to be in a traffic accident, but more importantly, to have the township allow, with this permit, to allow further, I'm not saying that there aren't already unsafe conditions based on the way this was designed in 1980, or not even designed, but the way it was built. But as it is right now, there's no compelling need to change this driveway. So to approve this driveway at this point, you're opening the township up to liabilities if there ever is an incident. If there's no incident, that's great. If you don't approve it, then you're not opening the township up to any liability for anything. There's nothing you can do about those headlights shining into our house, short of buying our house if it's not for sale. We didn't sign up to have a house with headlights shining in it, and it very specifically says in the township ordinance that the township will avoid designing streets or driveways where headlights will shine into the house for obvious reasons. There are some houses that are built at the end of a street and headlights are going to shine in them, but when you buy it, you're buying a house that headlights shine into. At the end of Elba, there's a house, and I turn my lights down when I come up to it. It's sitting on East River, and your lights shine into it. There's nothing you can do. But when they bought it, that was the deal. When we bought our house, that wasn't the deal. There was no cars going to come across this cul-de-sac and shine lights in our house.
I guess, Sean, that's what I want to see. I want to see in writing where what you say is in the regulation. Do somebody have that language?
I provided that. I don't know if I have it right here. If you give me a minute.
I have a question too. Is it on page 2?
There's a, yeah, on page 2, the
Third paragraph from the bottom on page 2.
But Mr. Freeze, are you saying that you believe the ordinance says that there will be no headlight glare coming into your house?
It says the township will, I believe the word, I don't have it right in front of me, and I don't have that page right in front of me, but it says the township should not or will not approve a driveway or a street that will cause headlights to shine into a dwelling. Is that in the area that you're looking at right now, the reference?
Well, that's the 238-7. Who's got 238-7?
Is this the, I'm sorry, I don't know if this is what you're looking for.
Sorry, I don't have my glasses here. Give me a second. Yeah,
It's 238-7.
yes, there we go. That would be on page 2, paragraph beginning, in addition. The building zoning official. Thank you. It is the stated public policy of the township the driveway should be designed in a manner to avoid headlight glare coming into the living area of residences, section 238.7. I don't have 238.7 right here in front of me, but that was in my package that we provided you a month ago, so if that was a salient issue that we brought up, and I apologize if I don't have I don't know if anybody here has the township zoning available to go over, but Mr. Morton?
Mr. Chair, quick clarification. Whatever 238-7 is, it's not in zoning.
It's not a
zoning issue.
It is not.
No, it's not a zoning.
And I have to apologize for my ignorance. It's some section of the code, but it's not roads and driveways, and it's not zoning. I'm not certain what it is, to be honest with you, and I don't have a code book up here.
Yeah, that's a code, that's an NCLF code.
How about common courtesy, general? I mean, it also says that you should only approve a driveway in certain circumstances, an extra approach, in the case where it's either needed, if they can show real need, and if it doesn't impact traffic on any neighboring driveways or roads. How much more can I tell you about that part? So take the headlight issue, take the safety issue, take the you don't have to approve this issue. I'm not sure how deep my burden of proof goes, but I think those are the issues. Obviously, your purpose here as the Zoning Board of Appeals is to see whether this permit might have been issued without taking into account these issues.
I have a question, which is off the topic, but you said that you thought that traffic would increase from 5 to 12 vehicles a day.
Yes.
All right. How many vehicles does your family own?
Yeah, you were looking
We own
at what they call them ordinance.
Wait a minute, wait,
No, I'm curious. How many
We're
vehicles?
talking about passenger vehicles that we keep in our house?
I'm talking about vehicles that you drive.
16. I own 16 vehicles. They don't all stay at my house, and I don't drive them every day by any means. But I generally leave once in the morning, come home once at night, and go to the store or to my Rotary meeting. I don't do a lot of driving in and out, no.
Okay. How many vehicles get driven from your house on a regular basis?
Usually 2 to 4 a day.
2 to 4 a day. So of the 5 to 12, you are 4.
No, I was not counting our traffic. No, I was counting the traffic that we might encounter back down.
But still, of any increase in traffic, you guys already have 3 to 4 on the road.
Correct.
Thank you.
Sure. By the way, Ms. Jaworowski had mentioned something about a 6-foot offset of this driveway, and although it isn't really very well represented there either, there's no 6-foot offset whatsoever. There's not even a 1-foot offset. They're putting this driveway right up to our property line. I don't know if we properly represented this, but this is our yard also going out towards the river here, and so they're putting a driveway right up, butting up against our yard there that goes out to the river. That's where we came up with the drainage issues that concern us, because that area historically has had a lot of flooding. That's represented in the pictures that we provided too.
Brian, the question, again, I guess, we deal with the zoning ordinances, and 238-7 is not part of the zoning ordinance.
That's correct.
Okay, so the question becomes, if that language exists in 238.7, so we should not consider that in our deliberation.
Well, you may, but I don't have that section of the code, and I don't know what that section of the code says.
Because the question I got is, if it does in fact say that, then what recourse does this gentleman have, other than ourselves, saying that there's something that, there is language that says that, but under the zoning board of appeals, we don't have the...
Let's take a recess for 5 minutes to discuss it.
Okay, I hear that we are asking for a recess. Can we have a motion to have a recess for 5 minutes?
To discuss it.
Well, Mr. Chair, if I may, if you would give us a 5-minute break, let us run downstairs and grab a code book.
Okay. Okay, let's a motion for a 5-minute break.
So, second.
Approved. get back on air, get the appeal moving.
I couldn't hear from the other guy.
We're on.
We're on.
We've got all the, now what I want to do is I want to move on and go to the people in the room to see if anyone wants to come up and speak on behalf of themselves regarding the issue at hand. And if you could come up and indicate who you are, where you live.
Good evening. I live on 383 Alba Drive.
Would you go to the mic, please?
Oh. Yeah, I live on 28383 Alba Drive, and I'm the one trying to get the driveway.
What's your name?
Larry Mazzola. And there's quite a few issues that they had brought up that I'd like to evaluate on or correct as far as my opinion is. When we were talking about, I've got a lot of issues here, but when we were talking about like headlights going in their direction, we had talked about this in the friendly basis quite a while ago. The situation, I know someone was saying they were at the Gerbach's house before. Well, yeah, it was you, I can go in, but actually if you wanted to go into there and go into the garage, you'd have to go out and go around. You probably didn't drive in the garage, I'd assume, did you?
No.
So what it is I realized I own a lot more property than I did. I never even cared about it for the years until I went to go to sell my property. Then all of a sudden I find out I got 18, 20 feet on the other side of a tree. And I said, well, geez, this looks pretty good. And I can have my wife go right around and go straight into the garage. And that's going to be ingress. They keep talking about headlights. But in reality, I'm hardly ever going to have headlights because I don't have no reason to have headlights there. I'm going to come into there, drive straight into my garage, back out, and go the other way. So the headlight issues are just something they just want to keep throwing in there. I mean, if it was on a rare occasion, maybe something happened, I would do that. And I'm not like that. I'm courteous. I would shut off my headlights. I'm not like that. And it's just so, for instance, there's a couple different things. They took a picture right here on page 6. It just shows that my neighbor backs up the driveway in his driveway for the last 12 years.
Where is it?
Look at this page 6.
Page 6.
He happened to think the picture was actually, thank you for taking that picture.
Where are you at now?
On page 6?
Yep.
Or page 5, I'm sorry.
There's 4 pictures on page 6.
On page 5, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not what he's talking about. What? Okay.
Blurry, but you can see the vehicle. See, just for instance about headlights, here's what just how people deal with on a daily basis. I'm right across the street from there. My neighbors, right across from us, they would back their truck in every single night. He'd work late hours, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I see his headlights come in. Of course, it's a little upsetting. But everybody's got to put up with different things from neighbors. Unless you want to go live out in the sticks and don't want to deal with other things with people, maybe that's what you ought to do. But I never mentioned this thing about the headlights with them. They want to mention up with that. Now, that's one issue about the headlights. Now, another thing about that drain basin that they spent their $14,000 on, we were all friendly at the beginning because they would assume that half of that island was theirs and half of that island was ours. So it's like we own this island, which I never believed in the first place because I think everybody on a private road has a right to go around there. They're trying to say that they got a right to close that road off if they want to and not even have a court. I don't know about that. I'm not no attorney by no means. But that drain basin that they put in, I offered, paid for it. I offered to put money in on that drain basin. Oh, no, you don't need to do that. We'll take care of that. Right? Okay. I figure they're going to be friendly, neighborly. Watch out for that kind of thing because when they put that drain basin in there, I just happened to do an elevation, and they've got a nice drain, curves all around the grass. Water never goes on their grass because they have nice big curves. And then they put the drain basin, well, I happened to take my laser beam the other day. They got 5 inches of drainage coming right down my side of the road. What do I have? Half inch. The water they're talking about, half-inch, because it goes on part of their property, which is right along ours and mine. So we got a little water issue. Well, what does that sound like? Maybe we had a problem with the drain basin that they originally want to pay for, all being so friendly as a neighbor. And let me see here. The other issue here about talking about when you go around circles on the court. Now, if they're saying you got to go around the court on the proper direction. So if I'm pulling out or backing up, it's not the sight of view this way, because cars aren't going the wrong way. So I'm going to be able to see the whole court as they back out. I see the whole thing much better than theirs. And then the other issue about who has more blockage. They have a much more serious situation. They even admitted, right? More serious situation for an accident. But they're just talking about, though, the things that are there, the pole. It's actually just a pole. They also have a big brick mailbox with about 3 foot, I don't know what it is. Lean it over, well, that's another issue. And they have these big trees. You can see them on their own pictures. And it's their property. Clean it up. Clean it up. They might be saving an accident for somebody. Not just me. We're talking about me. Everybody, lots of people drive around, and that accident is a possible accident waiting to happen. Nothing to do with me. And now they're going to bring this up about we're going to create another possible accident? What about, we're only worried about one accident, not just me. You could have one accident from anybody driving down there, right? One accident has nothing to do with me. I think the biggest concern is they need to clean up their area so it's safe for everybody. And those are my big issues. I think if the drain basin, the drain, do they back up? Back up. Well, the boulders are another issue, which is dangerous. I had to take them off on my side. But,
Okay, Mr. Mazzola, have you made your presentation? I mean, are you through?
Yeah, I think I could have said more, but
Okay.
I think
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, Larry, just to reiterate again, how are you going to get into and out of your property with this new driveway?
Okay, new driveway. I don't have no pictures here, but my main issue, which I have come across with the freezes, so I have a friendly basis a long way.
That's okay. Just show us how you're going to go in and out.
Here's where we're going. Like you said, the concrete's not all proper. But yeah, this is. Can we show that better on where they can see it?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so that's somewhat what we have now, or what we're proposing. You see the dotted lines there. Now, here's all I wanted to do is, like my wife can come around here, we can go in a proper direction, whatever they say they want to do, we don't care.
Well, I'm asking you, how would you get into and out of your driveway?
That's what
Go ahead.
That's what I'm about to say, but I want to be more clear on it. So we're going to go around the circle in front of the freezers, like they say for us to do, and we're going to drive straight in around the trees, and all my driving goes straight in my garage, which I think is the best design
So you wouldn't
in the first place.
Okay, and then how do you get out?
Now, when we get out, we're going to back out and go in front of my house and exit out the other end. That's got nothing to do with the freezes.
So you would not pull out of your proposed driveway headlights forward,
90%
and
of the time.
you wouldn't back 90%.
I mean, in case some situation happened to happen, I'm not going to say 100%, but I would say some situation I might have to turn around the other way. I don't know what I'm doing there, but 90% of the time, that's how it's going to be. They're never even going to see that. I told them that in the first place. Now they want to keep bringing up things that I never even said. And
well, that's okay.
I have more courtesy for that.
We don't need. Okay, thank you.
Larry, was this a drawing that was submitted when you requested that the project be completed?
Yes.
That was the drawing that you...
I believe that was the drawings. I had a couple of different drawings put in, but just express...
But this was the drawing that was part of your request to do the construction?
Yes.
That you submitted to the township?
Mm-hmm. And if you go look at my driveway, it's beautiful. Just take a drive. Nunsville, he does contracting over here, and I'm not doing something that's making things not look good in the neighborhood.
Okay.
It's a nice looking drive.
Mr. Mazzola, are you going to, if the proposed drive goes through, it'll match the circle and it'll be the same?
It'll all be the same.
Okay, are there any other questions of Mr. Mazzola? Okay, if not, we'll get to you.
I do have one question.
Okay, Bob?
Should you have company, would you suggest they go to the back, or would they come in the front?
Now, if I have company, and that's part of the reason why I made my driveway the way it is, and we do have family. We all get along. We, when they do come in the summertime, I have a pool, and the reason why I did the longer driveway is because I made it 16 foot wide going all the way down. So I can fit 6 cars in my own driveway where the street goes, and they don't even have to see it.
Right.
It's all in my own driveway. I'm not bothering anybody. So like they're saying that, the only thing they're going to see is maybe the taillights when they go into my my area at the other end that they see. That's pretty much how it's going to be. So I don't understand what this is all about. Safety issues are all there.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Mazzola?
No.
Thank you. We'll get to you later. I want to go and get.
Say how many times you might have shined lights in our house in the last.
You want to come up, Sean? You want to come up here?
No, he can't talk to Larry.
Okay, I would like to tell you.
You can't. Yeah, we got. You have to talk to the board.
Well, Mr. Mazzola made a contention that he would not come out the driveway shining lights towards our house. And in the 3 months that he's been in this project, when he's been utilizing the mud tracks where he proposes to have the driveway without the approval, he's shined his lights in our house every night with high beams on, without high beams on. And
Time out. Can you, Larry? Can you sit down? Go sit down and let
That's the
him.
reason I wanted to ask the question, because his statements are disingenuous. He's saying that he wouldn't come out that way, but he comes out that way constantly. There are mud tracks in the road that we very easily could have complained about because that's a violation of city and state ordinance, but we haven't made that complaint. We just want this to go away. There are so many things that you can't control or predict. I can predict them, I can't control them. But I'll tell you what, I do have surveillance cameras that would show how many times Mr. Mazzola has shined his lights in our house during the night, and it's repeatedly on a daily basis. So what he has to say and what I have to ask are, if you'd like to adjourn this meeting and have just some evidence of whether my concerns are rational and valid or not, I'll be happy to provide you surveillance footage with time and date stamps of how many times his bright lights have been in my house. And you can't stop his bright lights from being in my house in the future. And as you can see by the way Mr. Mazzola feels about us, there's nothing I can do about it either.
Okay, we've heard you down. Are you through? Okay, thank you. Are there any, Brian?
Mr. Chair, just because we do finally have the code book, I've had a chance to look at a couple of things. If you don't mind, just two quick points for the board's consideration. First and foremost, two of the sections cited by the petitioner, the first being 205-11, which is from your roads and driveways ordinance, the claim being regarding interfering with operations at other driveways. That section of the ordinance applies to commercial driveways, not residential. Therefore, has nothing to do with the request that's before you. The second point being the 238-7, which comes from your subdivision regulations. And this section, forgive me if I've missed it, it's 10 pages long. The only section I can see that mentions anything about headlight glare has to do with lot layout in a subdivision plat. And it specifically references lots facing a three-way intersection should be aligned to prevent oncoming headlight glare into the potential building envelope. Neither of those sections has anything to do with the residential driveway that's been proposed and approved by the township.
Any questions of Brian for the board? Okay, thanks, Brian. Do we have any other comments from the audience? Could you come up and state your name and your address?
Good evening. I'm Barry Gillen. I live at 28277 Elba Drive. And it seems like we've always had problems on Elba over certain issues with our road being a private drive, and we own part of the road. And I could sit here and complain all I want about all the traffic that goes in front of my house, because it's constant. and I have no control about what cars and people go through the property as a road, private or public. And it seems to be there's this ongoing debate about this circle down at the end of the road, because I started the road being repaired back when I had an event at my house, and then managed to get the road being repaired and got ours added to it through the inner part of the gates, which I had to back out of because I had this huge problem with Mr. Freeze and his wife. And they seem to always have a problem with someone or another. And I backed out of the project because it got so intense and constant and just intense. But our road, we have a nice place down there, and it's a beautiful place. And I would love to say, I don't want any cars going in front of my house. That's my road. You can't come through and tell people that at all. We have mail people, we have delivery people, we have landscape people, we have tons of people using our road. You can't control what's going in and out of a successful area. Everybody has different issues and constant move. They have 4 cars. I have 2 cars. Somebody has 10 cars, whatever. Cars are going to go around there. I have events and people want to go walking around and they love our area and they go seeing what we have to offer and seeing what we provide. And they go down to the cul-de-sac and they get thrown out and attacked and aggressively attacked about not being able to use that road. People are going to use the circle. Police need to use it. Everybody comes down and uses it. It doesn't, nobody owns it to the degree that they can have such control on anybody's property. And you all have to admit that just isn't right for success. So they live at the end of the road. There is a cul-de-sac. That cul-de-sac has been there ever since I've owned my house for over 30 years. So how and what everyone wants to make of it, and yes, there was a little bump in it, and they took on some to fix the circle, and bravo, we all paid, we all have a nice road, but now there's boulders blocking the way, there's plants coming up, and their vision is blocked immensely by exactly the issues that were stated, a mailbox, a bush and shrubs and boulders. And if a lot of that was pulled out and removed, there would be no problem with that. There would be clear vision of them getting around and everybody else, other than trying to stop the traffic and saying you can't come by anymore. That's just not the way it should be. So when somebody else wants to do something, then they get all upset about having what somebody wants to do. Now, oh no, you can't do that, but they have a car lot in front of their house. And their 6 foot doesn't go over to Mr. Tolsdorf's, it's right to the property. I mean, there's just a huge amount of stuff, so I don't want to fight with them, and I pulled back a long time ago. But when I see people trying to do things with their property, and I can see how they could get aggressive, this is going to get far worse if people just need to be able to fix their property like we all do. And I like that the circle has been fixed and planted, but the boulders and everything else have created hardship and danger in that regard. And that's blatant. That's just pure blatant. That's not designed architecturally for landscape. That's designed as mobile for stay out, our area, don't come in. Cameras, lights, boulders, what the hell? You know, I would love to do that in front of my place, but I do it on my property. I build my berms and I create my oasis. And they could do the same thing, but you got to be friendlier. We can get along better if everybody would try to make this all work a little better than add each other tooth and nail, because after this date, there's still going to be a problem. I can feel the intensity. It needs to be resolved in a way that people know that it's not your road.
Okay, so are you, one question, you have no issues with where the driveway is being placed now?
Well, absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from the audience? Yes, name, address?
My name is Mary Britt. I live at 23191 Colset Lane, which is also a private lane. When I got my mortgage, way back when, we were asked to sign an easement agreement. The mortgage company made us do this. They said that the reason being is that they don't want one person to say, this is my part of the road, you can't drive over it. And it also makes us all responsible for upkeep and that's what an easement is for. So somebody can't say, you can't come down here. And it seems like that's what this party is trying to do by putting up all these boulders and saying, no, you can't come down here. I drove down on my lunch hour today to check the address, and as I got to the end, first of all, I can't for the life of me figure out who would go 25 miles an hour. I don't think I was going 5 miles an hour. It's the end of a private lane. You got to stop. And as far as the cul-de-sac goes, I thought that was a driveway, and I didn't want to loop it, so I actually turned into probably Mazzola's driveway to turn around because I thought it was a private little circular driveway. I didn't realize it was part of the street. So the street is what it is. It's a private lane. It's owned by everybody, and that's what an easement is for.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Are there any other comments?
There's one right there.
Yes. Name, address?
Jamie Fries, 28402 Elba. And I just want to say a few things. First of all, when we got Larry's letter and he complained about the boulders, we took them out of the street. But Duncan Murdoch had come down there and he said that they were in no way any trouble to anybody, that no emergency vehicles or anything would have any problem with them because nothing can make that circle anyway. The circle is really limited by the sewer pump station that's in the middle of the road, and that was there long before us. The boulders have been there for about 12 years. The boulders were put there because we tried to make it nice in there, and just people were just driving all through it kind of for fun, kind of vandalizing. That's also why my cameras are there, because I've had a lot of people come down and really damage things. And I tried for about 5 years I was hoping that people would stop doing it, but they didn't. So I thought, that's it. I'm done with that. And we don't have very many cameras. We really could have had a lot more, but we just wanted to do with as little as possible. As far as owning the road, we have never said we owned the road. Barry, we had a problem 12 years ago, so I guess this was my little payback for that. But when we moved there, they wanted to make the road bigger down at that end of the road, and it was just kind of a whim. They had just decided they were going to do it. So had we not bought the house, they probably just would have done it with no, any kind of engineering or anything. When we put the cement in there, we did it because there was such a big hole, and with the drainage, because when it rains, you can't really tell from any pictures, but the road is up high, and then right at our house, it dips down. So the water just floods. And when it rains there, if I don't go out on that road and rake so that drain is clear, that water, the same thing will happen again. So that road takes a ton of maintenance. Also, I want to say that people don't understand how dangerous it is right there and how hard it is to come in and out of that driveway. You have to turn so hard, and when you're coming out, you can't see, and it's just because where the house is, that's it. But does that mean that, oh, it's bad already, let's just make it a lot worse? They can just deal with it. I think that's a big mistake. I realize how much the Mazzolas want that drive, believe me. But we never agreed to it, and we never thought it was a good idea. So all I'm saying is that, of course, we have our interests. We have our interests because, we've been at that house. When we bought that house, we didn't try and make everybody else deal with things they didn't want to deal with. We just wanted to take our property, make it nicer. It's so much nicer now. If you look at the old pictures, it's like we put a lot of work into that. And that's just not for us to enjoy. That's for everybody to enjoy. And as far as their drive, they think it's a wonderful idea because it does kind of give them a big kind of opulent drive to their house. But look where their house is. Their house is up the street. Their house is not on the cul-de-sac. We are there. We're stuck there. I mean, we are the only house right there, and we have to get in and out of our driveway. That's the purpose. The purpose isn't like, to make some opulent statement for a house. So it's not that we don't want them there. We really have serious concerns about that. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the audience? Do we have any? Okay, given that, do we have any? I'd like to just make a couple of comments. And Brian gave us a direction here at the beginning. Basically, and what we're ruling on is the zoning board of appeals. We are the zoning board of appeals. We're ruling on the zoning ordinances. That's what we do. And in this case, we are told that we have to look at this appeal and was the township arbitrary or capricious? Failed to ensure consistency with ordinance standards? Made an error such as relying on false or inaccurate information? Constituted an abuse of discretion, or was based upon erroneous interpretation of zoning ordinance or zoning law? That's what we look at when we make this decision. So that's what we're going to do here. So given that, I'd like to see if we could entertain a motion. Can we get a motion from the board?
Get a motion. I move that we deny appeal number 13-001, as there is no evidence that the township erred in its decision to issue the permit for construction of the driveway at 28383 Elbow Drive.
Second.
We have support?
Second.
We have support, John? Okay. Discussion? Any discussion?
I'd just like to say to the Freezes that I understand your concern, and when you say things like, the traffic's going to double, that sounds like a lot, but when you say 5 to 12 cars during the day, that's really not a lot. So I would, and you can see that there is some tension between the two neighbors, and that's unfortunate. And I would hope whatever happens with the vote today, that both parties can try and get along.
I'd like to only say that the goal is that
No, you can't. It's over. The discussion's over.
they'll be drawn soon.
Any other comments? Given that, can we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those not in favor? Hearing none, motion is disallowed. Appeal is disallowed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to thank Officer Porcelli for coming. I don't know if you're paid or not, but thank you for coming.
I get the same pay you get.
Also, Jim, Tim Thompson's our building inspector, and Tim was here also. So.
Okay, thank you, too, for coming.
No problem.
With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, before we have the motion to adjourn, I do have a comment to make. This commission needs to vote on its officers for the next fiscal year.
We just did that.
You did that. You did it to finish out this fiscal year.
That's true.
But doesn't that come up in end of month?
Looking at the board meetings, the way, and for us, if we meet in February, we'll only have one meeting for that to be approved to take to the annual meeting. So it has to be done, I believe, at the next meeting. So think about it. That in fact there may be a need for a special meeting to get it done sooner, but I think if we do it at our next meeting, we'll be okay. So,
Yeah,
please think
I
about
think
that.
I have one other
What do
comment.
we need to, I'm sorry, what are you saying we need to do?
Every year, you have to elect officers for the commission, your chair. In this case, we have a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary, I believe.
And what we did in December?
What you did it in August.
August?
You did it in August, and that was, your chair and vice chair changed because Mr. Assorti left. So that vote was to finish out this fiscal year. So it's something that has to be done every year, and it needs to be taken care of at the next meeting. I believe the next meeting it'll be okay, but if we have to do it sooner, I'll let you know.
But we can't do it just right now?
Uniquely,
If you're ready, you can do it now.
What I would like to do is, we do have applications for the zoning board of appeals. We have 6 applications for the zoning board of appeals.
Do we have any?
Yes, we do. We have 6 of them. And what I would, and Jim Budney, who is our liaison, has given me the 6 applications that were submitted, and we want to...
And I would think you have 2 choices, with your vice chair and your secretary, and with Jim's help if you want to.
Yeah, we have to select a full member and an alternate. So we have a full member opening and an alternate opening. So,
Correct.
So I think my feeling is that we should get those people on board and then elect our officers. Bob?
I think there's also four of us whose term is up for renewal. We got to make sure that those people are interested in staying before we have a vote.
Hopefully you've, I know
Well, in actuality, we have to have a vote because we have to have those officers, we have to have something to present at the annual meeting. So that has to take place regardless of whether we add the person, depending on how that goes, whether we add a person, whether you're going to, the members that are going to be up, whether they're going to stay. The people that are here now are going to be the ones to vote.
Okay, well, given that, then I kind of retract what I say, and why can't we just do it now?
Well, if you're prepared to do that, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And although I don't know, since that, I think it actually needed to come up at additions and deletions.
Agenda.
Yeah, this is right now is comment. I think we need it for addition and deletion of agenda.
So can we modify the additions and deletions?
Can we open it up?
Can we open it up?
I don't see anybody that is going to be against that. If everybody's in favor.
Yep.
Well, we can make a motion. We can make a motion to open it up, open the agenda up again.
Mr. Chairman, I would move we open up the agenda again.
Second.
What are you trying to do?
And I would like to add an
election of
item
officers.
that we would elect our officers. The item would be election of officers. For the next, what did you say, Jim? The next
For the year.
For the next fiscal year.
For the next fiscal year, for the next year. Which is, what is the year?
It's April through March.
April through March, so it's the fiscal year.
April 1st through March 31st.
Okay, all right, so we can do that. So we have a support, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so given that,
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move we keep the officers that we presently have for the next year. Fiscal year.
so we have motions to keep the existing officers.
Second.
I don't,
We got
We got
discussion.
second at first.
yeah, I don't know that we have any other choice than that. But
That's right.
I think we ought to think about it.
Well, I guess in discussion, I'd say, is there anyone interested in any of the officers' positions that isn't an officer now, or a different officer position than they have now?
May I amend that? Are there any present officers who do not wish to continue?
That'd be another one.
do we have anybody that doesn't want the office now? That is, I hear none. I hear no people that say no. So we've got, the existing officers are willing to go into the next fiscal year. So that's...
Then I'd like to make the motion that Mr. Bittinger be nominated as chairman, that Mrs. Davies is nominated as vice chair, and Mr. Pierce is nominated as secretary for the next fiscal year.
So we have support, comments, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion carries. New officers.
Thank you. I can carry that back and get it done.
Right, now we do have 6 applicants that we've got to go over, so I guess my question is, how do you want to proceed with the selection of the...
Well, you could do it with your officers.
Okay, we can sit down with the officers and make the selection. Okay, that's...
So I think
okay.
if you make a recommendation, is that what you do?
Yes, it'd be a recommendation from the commission to the board.
Yeah.
So I would like to maybe have another meeting and we can go over the 6 because there's information on the 6.
Just the 3 of you.
Yeah, just the 3 of us. And Jim, I think being the latest and
You
I
might
think
know
this.
the people and you know something about them. Right.
Yeah. Okay, so we can we'll have a meeting. I don't know.
Make it next Tuesday.
You make it next Tuesday?
I mean, you select it, but I'm just saying.
Well, you want to accommodate everybody, so you don't want anybody to be...
I have a meeting to go to next Tuesday, but...
Can we do set? Yeah, I don't know how long this review is going to take. I mean, we've got 6 applications, so it's going to take a little time to go through them.
Well, and you have to pick one.
Yeah,
Or you have to pick 2.
Yeah, send an email out when it's convenient.
Yeah, I mean, next Wednesday would be okay.
Next Wednesday, do I have the emails of everybody? Because I'll just set up the meeting.
They're on the list.
I'll set the meeting up.
You got a list.
Yeah, I'll set the meeting up and I'll email you with the date.
Good.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Brian has some information.
Just a reminder, if the officers plus the board liaison want to meet, you have a quorum of the ZBA, that has to be posted as a public meeting if you're going to do that. So, just a reminder.
How much notice do we need?
I'd be subject to Opens Meetings Act. I believe it just has to be posted on the building 24 hours in advance, something to that effect.
Okay, the other option is to stay here tonight and go through them and make the selection tonight.
Well, can I also remind you that this board does not have any power to appoint anybody to the ZBA.
We're just saying selecting. We're just saying it's a recommendation.
That's fair.
Select the recommendation.
Just want to make sure we're clear, that's all.
Make a copy of all your applications, give each one and let them pick out who they think is a good idea, and then you get together and you can decide. Just make a copy of the applications, give each one of them one.
Okay, what I will do, what I'll do is, we'll get the applications to the, I've got the application, Jim's got a copy of the application, so Jack
Then you does it,
and
make
Bob
copies,
does it, so
let
we'll get them to have.
and make selections, and then you can talk about them.
Yeah, we could actually do that by email too, we could,
Yeah, you don't
we don't have to meet, we can do an email, once you review, then we'll give you, and you can email your recommendations to me and to Jim, so we can cover it that way.
Just see who best qualifies.
Well, actually, I think, Jim, certainly giving everybody the applications, letting them look it over, but we need to sit down and discuss it.
But you need to see them in advance.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Otherwise, you can't read them all.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll get, Lori, can you copy those for us?
Yeah, okay.
I'll do the 6th right
applicants that I have that he's talking about.
Okay, well, I'll give you my packet.
Okay.
I have them with me, and you can just run them off, and I'll get it tomorrow.
The other question I have is, there's a couple of the applicants, they're not timely. They're expired, their application is expired.
That is correct. Two of the six. The applications are not timely, and that's something we need to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, we can talk about that because you want to be consistent in how you apply.
That is correct.
The recommendation, because the board's going to ask you, were you consistent, and we want to be consistent.
Yes, we do, and yes.
Okay. All right, are there any other discussions?
No.
Okay, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Third.